погибель, как тонет подводные лодки. Но мы тоже люди, не промо. Мы прячемся в черные дыры. У нас есть такие приборы, но мы вам про них не расскажем. Аквалангисты — это хорошо. Да! И взрослые знают, и дети. Мы радость творим на планете. Аквалангисты — это не игра. Когда мы выходим на берег, то девочки радостно встанут, и мы начинаем рассказ про разные трудности моря. Но хватит, забыла сирена, и мы быстро прыгаем в воду. Мы жить не привыкли на суше, мы любим нырять и купаться. Аквалангисты — это хорошо. Да! И взрослые знают, и дети. Мы радость творим на планете. Аквалангисты — это не игра. Меня укусила акула. Тебя укусила акула. Ее укусила акула. Да нас всех укусила акула. Аквалангисты — это не игра.
And on that note, I think we can slowly begin our foray. Funny word, foray. Kinda lovely. But anyway, good evening, afternoon, and whatever time of the day it is in your part of the world. My name is Val, and I am back. If you're wondering why I had taken such a long break from streaming, as some of you might be wondering, that's because I needed it for to focus on my studies. And it paid off. I am now officially a bachelor, or rather have a bachelor's degree. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Now, with that in mind, let me just also quickly send out another mention that I am live. Hopefully people will actually show up. And we will be able to begin in a moment. And just so that we are not particularly struggling for words with this one. Maybe I'm just a little bit nervous, so hopefully this can be alleviated with some nice background music. And we'll of course gonna make it thematically appropriate. Hopefully Paradox won't be too opposed to this one, because technically I don't have the permission for that, but that's beside the point. Or was it? Let's. I think for now we can just go with this one at the very least. And we're gonna tone down the volume up to this point so it's not too loud. Do let me know if it's too loud. Hopefully it won't be. Now if we look at the and turn down the volume pickup in OBS as well, should be good enough. that. And over here too. Hopefully people will show up for this one. Ah, there we go. Cheers, Val can't stay long to do some void project finalized, but I did throw you up on the server stage. Ah, thank you kindly, Kix. I was just going to double check on that one. Right, welcome back to streaming. Thank you kindly. Always happy to see you around here. Now, as you have probably noticed on the screen, we are going into a text adventure, or rather text RPG. This one is called Hunter the Reckoning, the Beast of Glenkildove. What I can say to you is that this one is published by Choice of Games, and previously they haven't been disappointing with any of the other World of Darkness text RPGs that we've played. At least on stream we've played Vampire the Masquerade Out for Blood, and I've also played Night Road in my free time, back before the streaming, and I have been pleasantly surprised by that one. So hopefully the Beast of Glenkildove will also not disappoint in that regard. I think we can tone down the music volume even more to about this point. We are good. At least I think so. And let's begin. Enough dilly-dallying, as they say. I do not seek what is mine. It is not my own grace, but God who put this concern in my heart that I would be one of the hunters whom God at the time foretold would be here in the final days. Palladius Patricius. The moment you set foot on the trail up to the O'Donnell place, you know that you are being watched. The hairs on the back of your neck rise up and you feel a chill of fear. Living in the city, it's easy to forget what night out here in rural Ireland is like. A full moon glows in the cold, clear sky, turning the frosty trees around you to pure silver, while the shadows beyond the path are impossibly deep, a great ocean of darkness all around you. And a predator moves unseen through that ocean, stalking you. Staring into the shadows, you think you see a larger shadow moving in parallel with you. Or is it just a deer picking its way through the woods? Let's act as if nothing is wrong and continue at our regular pace, but keep trying to catch sight of the shadow. Pays to be prepared, as they say. Keeping your expression and gait unchanged, you continue up the path, but every now and then you glance out into the woods. You never catch sight of the shadow again. Perhaps it was all just imagination. Perhaps. And who could blame you for seeing things? It's been 8 years since you last set foot on these hills. This place, these woods, the farm beyond them, and the great sweep of the Wicklow Mountains beyond that, was once a haven for you, a place of enchantment, of escape. Then, on a hot midsummer's eve, you came face to face with true horror, a horror that has scarred your memory and haunted your days and nights ever since. You saw the Beast of Glenkildove that day. Unable to face the memories, you never returned to Wicklow, and you might never have returned at all if it hadn't been a call for you got this morning. The voice at the other end of the line was that of Cormac O'Donnell, who disappeared on the day you saw the beast, and hadn't been seen since. He was rambling, incoherent, near crying. Jesus, Jesus, he kept saying, then started repeating your name instead, like a mantra. I try to calm him down by asking him clear, factual questions, speaking steadily and regularly. Gotta stay focused on that one. Perhaps something you said sparked something in Cormac, because he began to speak somewhat more lucidly. I'm at my dad's old place in Wicklow. Please come. Please come. I need you. I need to see you. The beast is back. Suddenly he laughed, an ugly, strangled sound. Or maybe it never went away. Oh, Jesus. The beast is coming for me. It's coming for me. Promise me you'll come. Promise me! And the line went dead. And you were on a flight to Dublin that evening. You took the last bus from the airport up into the mountains. It deposited you at the crossroads by the Marian Shrine outside Ballyavon, a mile from the O'Donnell place. You've walked the rest of the day through the cold Irish night. What has brought you back here, a place to which you once swore you would never return? Well, that one's obvious. My friend needs me. That's all the reason I need. Or maybe, actually, I'll have to know the truth about what happened the day that Cormac disappeared. Perhaps then I'll finally be able to sleep at night. Oh, and before I forget, that one should be over here, hopefully. Or maybe not yet. You've reached the top of the trail now, and the whitewashed, grime-streaked buildings of O'Donnell's farm stand before you, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Nettles and brambles have taken over the farmyard, fighting moss for possession of a skeletal, rust-ruined old tractor squatted in the barn. Half the windows in the farmhouse have been shattered and the graffiti has been daubed all over the walls. Teok Fate Arla, beast. Murdering cunts. Judging by the blackened section at the far end, an unsuccessful attempt was made to set fire to the house. Surely more horrors will cure my PTSD. Indeed, Carmine, indeed. Crossing the yard, you make your way into the farmhouse. The kitchen is a shambles, strewn with rubbish. The shelves that once lined the walls have long since been broken up and used for firewood. The big, honey-colored table is still there, but now it is scarred by knife marks and burns. Terry's old shotgun lies discarded amid the rubbish on the floor by the fireplace. This was where it all began. And hey there, Charles. But now, a flashback. 10 years ago. You are 16 years old. You are making your way up the hillside path, following behind your Aunt Mare and her black and white sheepdog, Misty. The leaves of the trees glow green in the light of the mellow, golden summer sunshine. They've got a bit of a reputation, the Red O'Donnells, Mare comments. She's a spare, sharp-featured woman with metal-rimmed glasses and graying dark hair cut short. She strides along, speaking without looking back, forcing you and Misty to scramble to keep up. But Terry's all right, and he's got a boy about your age, Cormac, and he's a good lad. Terry's had to look after him all alone ever since his wife died, and he hasn't done a bad job, under the circumstances. Anyway, Auntie has things to do today, so Auntie is abandoning you. I'm sure you'll become fast friends with Cormac and have a splendid time. And if you don't, it'll be good fodder for the misery memoir that will make you millions 20 years from now. I'm sure I'll be fine, Aunt Mare. I'm sure you will too, my little one. And hey there, new around. You only arrived in Ireland from London a couple of days ago, picked up from the airport by Aunt Mare in her battered, mud-splattered jeep. The two of you are still getting used to each other's company and trying to decide if you like one another. Mare lives alone, running the Wolf's Head, a rambling country inn in the hills above Ballyavon. You suspect that she is not used to any company, let alone that of a teenager. Her manner towards you veers between treating you as though you were 3 and as though you were 30. You've never met Aunt Mare before, your father's older sister. Your father has rarely even mentioned her before now. You've never even been to Ireland before. Although your father is Irish, he emigrated to London when he was young. And Irish heritage was nothing unusual at the Catholic school you attended there, St. Jerome's. And you were better known... let's think about this one. Let's go with an exceptional student. Just smart all around. That's gotta help. Or, sure, devotion to boxing. We are, after all, in a Hunter the Reckoning story. Some close combat skills never hurt. You've loved boxing ever since you were first introduced to the sport as a child. There is an exhilarating purity to the contest, win or lose, and a grace and precision to each fight. Your workout schedule every morning is unforgiving, and it's left your body stripped of most fat and laden with muscle. Even as a teenager, you cut an intimidating figure. But Mom got sick, really sick, and your life changed. It was decided that it would be the best for you to spend the summer in Ireland. You've gone from London streets, London noise, and the London crowds to these still, cool green woods and lonely hills. How do you feel waking up every morning in your room below the eaves at the Wolf's Head? I feel bored. I miss the energy and excitement of London. I am a certified city slicker after all. You arrive behind Mayor and Misty at the O'Donnell farm. Whitewashed stone sheds and a metal barn enclose the farmyard. Chickens peck in a coop at the corner of the yard. Twice a one-eyed tabby cat steps in the sun on a low, lichen-stained wall. The cat is apparently well known to Misty, who pays it no heed. A tall, barrel-chested man with a thick red beard, evidently Terry O'Donnell, emerges from the barn and waves to you. Misty runs up to him and he scratches her behind the ears. "Mayor Grogan." "The very same," returns Mayor. "I come bearing relatives. This is my brother in London's boy." We are not going for the they-them build yet. Even though I am very tempted to remake Criss-Cross Applesauce Dreamer in here. That would be highly entertaining, but not this time. Not today. All right there, Terry says to you, apparently not expecting a reply. Mayor continues. His name is... Classic Sean, can't go wrong with that, but let's go with Liam. I have some errands to run and I was hoping to leave him with Cormac for the day. Why not? The Fox kids are coming over and they're picking up the other two by the village. They're all going to Glen Kildove. It'll be good for us to have another Catholic handy in case those fucking prods try something. He winks at you. Cormac's over there by the pump. Go and say hello. You find Cormac splashing water over his face and hair by the pump. A boy with his father's height and striking dark red hair, but lean where Terry is paunchy. As he turns, you find yourself looking into very brilliant green eyes, all the brighter in his pale, slightly freckled face. He has evidently overheard Mayor's introduction. So, you're English, are you? He asks, you his expression ambiguous. Fuck no, I'm a Londoner, I'm not English. He barks a not unfriendly laugh. Right, like how dubs are dubs, not culchies like the rest of us. Welcome to the provinces. You're a long way from London now. Cormac plasters down his wet, short-cropped hair. Anyway, he continues, I was only messing. London sounds deadly. My cousin Ocean is a builder there. I'm going to live there someday, shake the dust off this place off my feet. It's a good idea. There's always something going on in London. You speak wistfully. You miss the excitement of the city, stuck here in the hills. Cormac grins. That's what Ocean says. Cormac leads you across to the barn. Within there is a mountain of hay bales. He shows you how to climb up the swaying, yielding bales to sit at the top, with a bird's eye view of the farmyard outside. The tabby cat, who is introduced to you as Pirate Jenny, climbs up behind you and makes friendly overtures, rubbing her head against your heel. Of course we're gonna scratch her behind the ears. Pirate Jenny purrs contentedly, rubbing her head back and forth under your fingertips. Cormac, looking on, shakes his head ruefully. She won't come anywhere near me. Scratches like mad if I try to pick her up. Cormac talks about his plans for the future. He plays the fiddle and sings traditional folk music. He wants to start a band and travel the world. London, Paris, New York, even Tokyo maybe. I've heard there are Irish pubs in Tokyo. We must need people to play in them. That'd be mad, me playing Irish music in Japan someday. His green eyes are shining now. He doesn't look as much older than you as he did before. Honestly, I am enthusiastic about Cormac's ideas and join him in building castles in the air. Let's indulge him in his weebery. Lying on the scratchy yet strangely comfortable hay bales, staring out at the sunlit farmyard, the two of you start speculating about what other countries might have Irish pubs for Cormac to play in. Tibet? Yeah, sure, why not? I bet they have one halfway up a mountain in the snow, and they have to ride a yak to get there. Egypt? Ah, yeah, for sure. All that sand, you'd need a Guinness now and then, wouldn't you? Australia? You must be joking. The whole fucking continent was like a prison for Irish people back in history. It's probably nothing but wall-to-wall Irish pubs by now. He laughs. You can tell that he is enjoying your company, although there is still a prickly wariness to him. Perhaps he feels that he needs to joke about his travel plans to preempt mockery. The conversation is interrupted by a cry from below. Cormac! A boy of your age is standing below the piled up bales of hay. He has dark brown hair, blue-grey eyes, and a slight lean build. Foxy! Cormac says. He scrambles down the hay bales. This is Liam. He glances back at you. He's dead sound, he adds. Nice to meet you, the boy says. I'm Simon, and my little sister will be joining you as well. Claudia. Sure thing. Simon calls across the yard and a girl, perhaps you're a year or so younger, emerges from the farmhouse. She runs to join you. She has the same short hair, eyes, and a build as her older brother. This is Claudia. Everybody calls me the Claw, Claudia puts in. Nobody calls you the Claw. The two siblings' surname is Fox, hence Cormac's nickname for Simon. They're Protestant, a fact that is mentioned more than once as you cross the yard. You're headed for a place called Glenkildove, in the valley beyond yours. But first you are going to collect two more of Cormac's friends. Simon seems gentle and bookish, peering at the world over his glasses in benign, tolerant confusion, as though he were 60 rather than 16. His sister, Claudia, is a barely contained dynamo of energy and action. She can't even stand still for very long, constantly hopping from one foot to the other. She immediately launches into a series of questions about you and London and why you're here and what you like. I'm so sorry, Simon says. Claudia has heard about personal boundaries. She decided against them. The Claw will have no truck with such feelings. Let's tease her by inventing an elaborate series of lies accounting for my presence in Ballyavon. Not joking, I sent 2 boats over to Australia, one for men, one for women. After they were set, they got busy. The more you know. It was always a wild place, apparently. Claudia's eyes widen in awe as you weave a complex tale of international intrigue, car chases, criminal conspiracy, and evil twins. London was too hot to hold me, you continue, so I came over to hide out here on Ireland for a while. She gasps in awe until her brother, who has been listening in silent amusement, is no longer able to contain his giggles. When she realizes that you have been teasing her, she hits your shoulder in frustration. That's not fair. But hey, we got her. We got her good. Making your way back down the track, the 4 of you head out to the main road. Walking along the grassy bank, you come to the crossroads that marks the outskirts of Ballyavon, the local village. There is a shrine here. A white plaster Virgin Mary in a carved niche in the rock looks out benignly. In its shadow, Cormac's other friends, a boy and a girl of your age, wait for you. It is the girl who speaks first. She has shoulder-length dark hair, neatly held away from her face with a butterfly bow and a shy yet eager smile of her own. She is wearing a heavy backpack. There you are, she says. You must be Liam. Welcome to Ireland. I'm Kitty Collin. My name sounds a little bit more like I should be dating Spider-Man. What's in the bag, Kitty? Asks Cormac. Businesslike, Kitty counts its contents off on her fingers. Sunscreen, my water bottle, a waterproof Mac in case it rains, sandwiches, apples, bags of crisps and chocolate bars, a first aid kit, a map and a compass, a multi-tool, and some insect repellent. Sure, the midges will eat you alive up there. Daniel, dark with classically handsome features and a cocky class clown grin, rolls his eyes at Kitty affectionately. Thank you for bringing all of this stuff, Kitty. It's good to know we have it. You hate this guy already, huh? Kitty beams at you. Ah, stop, she says, blushing. It's best to be prepared. That's what Mama always said. The group is now assembled. It seems that Glen Kildove is a remote glen on the far side of the mountain. You'll need to climb up the mountain and over its shoulder, and then pick your way down into the narrow valley along a steep, precipitous path. It's hard to get it to, Simon says, as the 6 of you leave the main road once again and begin climbing up a trail that leads upslope through the woods. But that's part of what makes it special. The last wolf in Ireland was killed in Glen Kildove. Fado fado, as the storytellers say. A long, long time ago. Simon goes on to describe the history of the glen. It seems to have been a sacred place even in Neolithic times. There's a circle of standing stones in the western part of the valley. When Christianity came to Ireland, monks began looking for places far from civilization in which they could meditate and pray undisturbed. One group, led by a monk named Enda, left their old monastery in Clonmacnoise after a row with the abbot there. They traveled east, found their way up to the hidden glen here, and built a settlement by the lake at its heart. They called the lake the Devil's Cauldron, and the valley itself the Glen of the Black Wood, Simon says. They thought that all the glen was haunted by the Numina, the spirits of the earth that the old Irish had worshipped there. Then why is it called Glen Kildove now if they called it the Glen of the Black Wood? It's Irish, Simon says. Coil dub, Black Wood. But the English didn't know how to spell it, Cormac puts in. And sure they were the ones making the maps. Simon picks up the story. There were still wolves in Ireland in those days, and the Wicklow forests were deep and dark, Simon adds dreamily. I imagine the monks at prayer in the middle of the night, hearing the wind whistling through the pines and the wolves howling in the moon. I wonder what they thought about. Probably wondered why they were freezing their balls off in Glen Kildove, Daniel observes. Daniel, Kitty puts in half-amused outrage. They were men of God. Yeah, sure, you two bicker. Simon, please continue. Simon continues the story. You notice that he often glances at Cormac as he speaks, as though looking for the older boy's approval. When the British came to Ireland, the Wicklow Mountains were one of the areas they found hard to control. There were too many places for Irish rebels to hide among the hills and valleys, and too many ways for British soldiers to disappear. Ballyavon in particular gained a dark reputation. But even so, little by little, moving out from the Pale around Dublin, the British put more and more of the mountains under their control. By the 18th century, the Anglo-Irish peer Mad Jack Dunbar was granted the lands around Ballyavon. Mad Jack Dunbar seems to have rejoiced in his reputation as a blasphemer and a maniac. He claimed he could smell gold in the hills around Ballyavon and wasted much of his fortune digging mines across the valley, none of which ever yielded a profit. He founded a fraternity known as the Sons of Perdition, who were infamous for holding wild sacrilegious orgies at their meeting place, a hunting lodge in the Wicklow Hills. Well, since we mentioned orgies, I guess this was bound to be brought up. It's your aunt's place now, Kitty puts in. The Wolf's Head. My Uncle Joe works there. Let us know if you find any creepy black magic stuff, or if you're planning any orgies, Daniel adds. That's so fucking cool! I'm gonna start searching the place tomorrow. Claudia's eyes light up. Hell yes! You're my kind of guy! Mad Jack was hated by the Catholic peasantry, less because of his sacrilegious ways and more because of his deliberate, relentless oppression of Catholic tenant farmers. A secret society known as the Stag Boys was formed to oppose him, one of dozens such groups operating in the Irish countryside at the time. But Dunbar's real passion in life was hunting wolves. There was still a handful of wolves surviving in the Irish wilds by the 18th century, and Mad Jack pursued them obsessively and systematically. He hunted down and killed the last one in Glen Kildove. Or did he? Asks Claudia, donning a portentous scowl. Claudia's talking about the beast, Simon explains. The beast of Glen Kildove. The beast is a folk legend going back centuries. It's said to be a monster that stalks the Wicklow Mountains, preying on deer, sheep, cattle, and sometimes human beings. It roams up and down the length of the mountains, but its lair is in Glen Kildove. Some stories say it's a hunting creature of the Sidhe, the fairy folk of Irish folklore. Others that it's a hellhound that Mad Jack Dunbar and the Sons of Perdition called up one stormy night. But I say, says Claudia with relish, that it's the last wolf in Ireland. Mad Jack never finished it off, and if he couldn't do it, nothing could. He just kept on stalking through the nights, getting older, more cunning. Without thinking, you interject, and more dangerous. Claudia grins. Yes! Simon picks up where his sister left off. Every now and then, somebody will go missing in the mountains. There was an American couple, tourists in the 70s, and there was a Japanese student in the 80s. She was in Dublin for the summer, came here for the weekend, and just disappeared. He shrugs. And everybody said it was the beast. Kitty shakes her head. It's awful. The poor girl. Glen Kildove and the fields about it belong to a woman named Imane Mokrani now, Simon concludes. She came here from Morocco or Algeria or, well, nobody seems to know, in the early 90s, and bought the land from the last descendants of Mad Jack Dunbar. She lives further up in the hills. Nobody sees her very much. She doesn't like visitors and she doesn't like people on her land. It's one of the reasons Glen Kildove isn't overrun with tourists. How did she get money for the land? What does she do? Nobody knows. She keeps to herself. It's what she does now. The trail winds up on through the forest. Every now and then, a break in the trees gives you views of the soaring mountains all around you. Lushly green expanses marked once in a while by the silver-white lines of waterfalls. There is no sign of human habitation anywhere on these slopes. Kitty passes out bags of crisps for everybody to eat, subsequently collecting the empty, crumpled packets in a small canvas bag, which she returns to her backpack. There is a little desultory conversation. You learn that the Fox siblings are the children of an academic, a professor of English literature, who lives locally but works in Dublin. Daniel's family came from Lebanon, although he has lived in Ireland since he was 6 years old. Despite some mutual good-natured teasing and a little bickering, it's clear that the members of this group have known each other for a long time and are comfortable and at ease with one another company. How do you feel? I like them, but I don't yet feel as though I am one of them. That's a bit closer to truth. The group begin to spread out along the trail. Cormac, who moves at a rapid stride, has moved on ahead of the rest of the group, and Simon hurries to join him. Claudia periodically leaves the trail and disappears into the woods beyond, to return with new scratches and mud stains on her t-shirt and jeans. Daniel and Kitty walk together. Who do you walk alongside? Who do we like more? Cormac and Simon? Claudia? Or Daniel and Kitty? I know Charles won't be voting for Daniel and Kitty, because he dislikes Daniel already. Anyone else? Although I have a feeling you'll be gravitating towards Claudia, because we do like them tomboys. Do we not? There it is. First vote for Claudia. And if I see no objections, no objections. We follow Claudia on her off-trail ventures. Beyond the trail, the forest floor is choked with nettles, brambles, and ferns. Claudia has obtained a stick and is thrashing a path through the undergrowth with enthusiastic slashes and swipes. Nobody else ever leaves the trail, she says, so they don't really see the forest at all, just the part that other people want them to see. You might as well stay home if you're gonna do that. But everyone else acts like coming out of here is like leaving the path in Mirkwood. Well, we gotta go with that one. Mirkwood? Are you a Tolkien fan? My brother is. The Hobbit's all right, but the Lord of the Rings? 50 pages of Hobbit genealogy before anything ever happens. No, thank you, J.R.R. Tolkien. It gets good. You just have to stick with it. Yeah, that's exactly what Simon says. But you shouldn't need 50 pages just to start your flippin' story. For a while, you and Claudia move through the undergrowth, pushing and hacking your way through the brambles. In order not to lose the others, you walk in parallel with the trail, although Claudia is supremely confident of being able to find them again at any event. She sighs, looking at the silhouettes of her brother and friend through the trees. Sometimes it's kind of nice being away from them all for a bit. Especially Cormac. Why especially Cormac? Don't you like him? It's not that I don't like Cormac, even if I don't think he's just the coolest thing ever like my brother does, but he is moody. He's your best friend one day, then he won't even look at you the next, and he's got a temper on him. He can actually be really scary when he properly loses it. Even when he's in a good mood, I always feel a bit like I'm walking on eggshells around him, you know? Uh-huh. Here's our first red flag, if you can call it that. But our good friend here might be a werewolf. Or a kinfolk. Either or. Most likely a werewolf. Is it something to do with his family? Aunt Mare mentioned something about the O'Donnell's reputation around here. Claudia grimaces. Yeah, that's one thing you can't bring up around him. Cormac's uncles and cousins, they're rough. Simon says they deal drugs and all that, but they're not as scary as his grandma Orla O'Donnell. Everybody around here is afraid of her, even the guards. Claudia! Simon is calling from the trail. Come on, we'd better head back. He likes me to check in every now and then. Worrywart. You rejoin the others. Do dog whistles work on werewolves? That's an excellent question. Which I cannot answer at the moment. Probably will need to check a little later. At last you reach the top of the trail and emerge from the trees into mellow late afternoon sunshine, the group gathering together once again. Over the shoulder of the mountain there is an open expanse of grass and yellow gorse, dropping down into the valley beyond. Glen Kildove. Most of the glen is covered with pine trees. At its heart there is a circular lake, its waters still, brooding and dark. On the shore of the lake closest to you, there is a cluster of stone buildings shaped like beehives, enclosed within an unmortared stone wall. A round tower some 100 feet tall rises at the heart of this little settlement. Glen Kildove Monastery, Simon says. They lived and prayed in those stone huts. He points to the far side of the lake, beyond which steep and rocky cliffs rise up. The standing stones are over there, but the trees are in the way. There are caves in those cliffs, behind the standing stones. Nobody knows how deep they go. I'm going to find out someday, Claudia adds. Every summer we say we're going to properly explore the caves, and every summer everyone chickens out. We've been coming here since we were little kids. It's our place. Now it's yours too. Now it's yours too, Cormac says impulsively. He looks a little surprised by his own comment. You make your way down to the lake. Cormac and Daniel are keen to swim in its dark, cold waters, but Simon just wants to read his book on the grassy slopes above the lake, and Kitty sits down beside him. Meanwhile, Claudia is anxious to look around the monastery buildings. Well, naturally, we gotta explore the monastery grounds with Claudia. The two of you make your way into the walled settlement. As you peer into some of the beehive huts, there is little to see. The site has been long since picked clean by archaeologists. We used to play beast here, Claudia says. Cormac would be the beast of Glen Kildove and he'll hide somewhere in the ruins. We had to creep through the settlement. If one of us could reach the ground tower, we were safe. It was so much fun. But nobody wants to play it anymore. They're too grown up. That's too bad. Sounds really fun. Actually, no. Was Cormac always the beast in these games? Mostly. He was the best at it. He was scary and that made it more fun. Daniel and Kitty were sometimes the beast. So was my brother, but he was terrible at it. Not scary at all. They never let me be the beast. The round tower, built of rough-cut grey stone, looms above you as you reach the center of the monastery. Its entrance, an archway into darkness, is perhaps 10 feet above the ground. They hit up when the monastery came under attack from, Vikings and things. They'd ring the bell at the top and everyone would climb up the ladder. Last mankin would pull up behind him so the Vikings couldn't get up. Couldn't the Vikings have found a way up? It's not that far off the ground. I know, right? I used to think that they built it like this so that wolves couldn't get in, the way that some huts in Africa were built on stilts to keep lions out. But my dad says that even when Ireland did have wolves, they'd never have been that aggressive. While you have been talking, the sun has hidden itself behind a veil of grey clouds and a cold mist risen up from the ground. The sunny summer day has suddenly turned chilly. It's getting late. Kitty meets you at the monastery gate, looking concerned. Oh, there you are. It's time we were getting home. I think it's going to rain soon. Cormac had a row with Daniel and now he's vanished off somewhere. He is probably off in the woods by the standing stones, Claudia pipes up. That's where he goes to sulk. Would you mind going to fetch him? Kitty asks of you. I think he is in one of his moods. Maybe you can talk to him. What was the fight about? Kitty rolls her eyes. Boy stuff. They're both always showing off and competing with each other. There's nothing for it but to make your way into the darkness beneath the trees. The woods are curiously still and silent. The noise of bird song is muffled, as though it is something coming from far away. You follow a winding path underneath the pines. The woods did not look very big from the hill above Glenkildo, but once you are within them, they seem far more extensive. Try as you might to contain it, you begin to feel an inexplicable fear that you have somehow become lost in this forgotten corner of Ireland, that you could keep walking for weeks and see nothing but these pines all about you. And then, abruptly, you emerge into the overcast, cloudy light of an Irish summer evening. You are at the far end of the glen. Beyond you rises a semi-sheer granite cliff. There is an opening at this side about halfway up, a black cave mouth from which issues a little waterfall which crashes down the cliff face into a pool between two rocks and the bottom. Its still water is constantly churned by the frothing, white-tinged waters descending from above. Between you and the cliff there is a grassy knoll, and at the grassy knoll, a circle of weather-beaten grey standing stones with a low, flat stone at its center. Between the stones, looking at you curiously, there is a girl of your age. She is dressed in white and barefoot, with daisy chains knotted into her shoulder-length white blonde hair. Her eyes are large, blue and dreamy, and her delicate face is marked by a fine spray of freckles. "Hello," she says, curiously formal as you approach her. "God be with you. I'm Anya." Irish and their fairy names. "You're not from here, are you?" "Oh good, we found the Lady of the Lake." But let's stay focused on the task. "No, I'm looking for my friend Cormac. Have you seen him?" "No, your friend Cormac should be careful," she says gravely, almost primly. "This is a dangerous place." And I already forgot how to pronounce it. Onye? I think it was Onye. Onye looks at the woods from which you have just emerged. "I'd get home as soon as you can. It's midsummer. Moonrise coming soon. The beast will be abroad tonight." I need to find my friend first. If things go well, I might live there in a couple of years. Oh, sounds nice. Don't let the werewolves get to you. Onye sighs. "Then I'll help you find them, but you have to promise to leave afterwards." She leads the way back into the woods. "It's easier to get lost here," fading ahead of you like a pale shadow. "When the Saxons came to Ireland, they drew lines on paper. Compasses and pencils are their real weapons, not blades and bullets. They were very clever and very patient. They measured and drew the wildness of the bogs and the mountains, the woods and the lows. They bound it up in their surveyors' chains. Their maps took the land away. But some places like Glenkildo were folded and twisted so that the map makers couldn't get at them. You know? Like those yolks in outer space. Black holes. Glenkildo wouldn't fit on the British maps, and it swallowed up the surveyors and the scientists and the soldiers they sent into it, just like a black hole. They got lost. Glenkildo was always hungry, just like its beast. It's easier to get lost here." Still talking, she turns a corner and is suddenly gone into the undergrowth. "Liam?" It is Cormac. He is sitting under a tree by the side of the path. "Cormac? I think we need to get out of here." Cormac frowns. He seems to have calmed down a little. "I know I shouldn't let him get to me that way," he says, meaning Daniel. "But Daniel, it's hard to explain. Maybe when you first meet him you'd think he is this funny, charming fella. Later on you realize that he actually thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He's laughing at you all the time. And Kitty, she wants to look after everyone, but that's really just another day of saying she wants to control everyone. And Simon and Claudia, it's all mommy and daddy and books and poetry and Trinity fucking College and... He has delivered his monologue without looking up at you. "I know they're my friends. I know they don't mean any harm. But sometimes I just can't be around them. It's like they're noisy. Even when they're not making any noise. like static, constantly blasting me. It's only quiet around you. Come on, let's get back to the wall of white noise. I offer him a hand up and a sympathetic smile. Oh, boo-hoo, tribal. Sorry that your ancestors sucked ass at war. Well, that's why they turned to Fey magic. Cormac clasps your hand gratefully. I'm glad you came here. The two of you make your way back through the woods to the lake. The others are waiting there, and you make your way back to the village in subdued silence. You mention the strange girl you met. Anya, Kitty says. Anya Madigan. She's a strange one, and no mistake. She went to the school in the village for a little while, but I suppose things didn't work out. She just left one day. Her family deal in horses and, well, they keep to themselves. Mama always said they were an old family, a very old family. Anya could read or write when she came to school, and the teachers didn't make much headway either. Or couldn't. I tried to help her, but she was too shy. It was strange talking to her. It felt like meeting someone in a dream. Kitty regards you thoughtfully, her head cocked to one side. She seems about to say something, then thinks better of it. She does not understand. Aunt Mare is waiting for you at the O'Donnell farmhouse, sitting with Terry and another visitor, a burly elderly man dressed in the dog collar and black attire of a priest. His red hair and beard is shot through with grey. My cousin Matt, Terry says. You might call him the black sheep of the family. He only went and joined the priesthood. I have to dip here because my parents want me to watch TV with them. See you next time then. Hopefully you won't miss too much tonight. But I could tell you a story or two about him when he was younger. Oh, he was a wild one. He grins at you. The priest, Father Matt O'Donnell, hides a mirror image smile behind his whiskey glass. Ah, now, Terry. It's the holy rollers who don't have stories like that about them that you have to watch. Those are the bastards with something to hide, mark my words. Mare shakes her head. You've all got something to hide, my love, or something you're running from. That's why you became priests. But you sense a wry, reluctant affection behind her words. Father Matt seems to take no offense. Ah, Mare, sure it's just a well you never talk in my church's doors of a Sunday. You speak your mind, and you call out fools and hypocrites no matter who they are. That it scares some of my parishioners out of there forever. You and Mare take your leave soon after. Soon you're back in your room under the eaves at the Wolf's Head, looking through an ivy-choked window at the courtyard, below as the sun sets red and gold over the Wicklow Mountains. As your breathing slows and your eyes close, you consider the summer ahead of you. From things your father said before you left, you suspect that this summer's stay in Ireland will become a yearly event. How do you intend to spend your summers in Ireland? That's a very good question. I will help Aunt Mare out by working at the bar of the Wolf's Head. I will go and work in the local garage and taxi service owned by Daniel's family down in the village. No, that one's completely out of the question. I will get a job helping out Terry O'Donnell, Cormac's father, on his farm. I will get a part-time job helping Joe Cullen, the Wolf's Head handyman and Kitty's uncle. I will take up hunting. I will find work at one of the nearby racing horse stables. I will learn as much local folklore and mythology as I can. I will pursue an interest in electronics, gadgets, and drones. I will learn to play traditional Irish music. Something tells me we should lean towards learning about local folklore and mythology. Just a hunch, nothing concrete. But once again, I'd like to hear any other suggestions. River dance, huh? I guess that goes under learning to play traditional Irish music. Yeah, learn mythology, just as I thought. There is a rich folk tradition of tales, poetry, and customs around Ballyavon, material that inspired writers such as W.B. Yeats, Liam McPhee, and J.M. Singe. You begin your inquiries with the older folk who come to the Wolf's Head to doze and gossip in the common room over Guinness. They're able to tell you many stories of fairy forts up in the mountains and places where the Sidhe dance in fire. They tell you of Mad Jack Dunbar drinking hot whiskey with the devil in this very house when it was his hunting lodge, and of the Irish rebels who could hide so well among the mountains that the British soldiers swore they could turn themselves into beasts of the wild. While we're waiting, or rather while we're reading, time to put on another album. This one should be Dungeon Synth. You hear stories of ghosts and witches, of the Tuatha de Danann and Fionn Mac Cumhaill. You hear many stories of the beast and its victims. As you exhaust their stories of lore, you are directed further afield to village Shonchaith, or storytellers, learning Irish so as to be able to converse with them more easily. You soon learn that Father Matt, the priest you met on the day you went to Glenkildove, is an enthusiastic local historian with a particular interest in folklore. You spend many afternoons at the priest's house by the church, looking through his collection of volumes. It is Father Matt who introduces you to Donnelly's bookshop in Ormond Quay in Dublin, a 6-story bookshop specializing in folklore and the occult built around a rambling, winding central staircase with bookshelves, galleries, and side rooms running all the way up. You have soon acquired your own library of books and notes. You and Mare spend an afternoon putting up shelves around your room in order to be able to house them all. We've gained the folklore library edge. In among the old stories and traditions that you have recorded, many may be fragmented clues to many of Ballyavon's darkest secrets. By storing them all in one place, you will have a significant advantage as a hunter. In the course of your inquiries, you often find yourself running into Simon. It appears that the Protestant boy has a deep interest in folklore himself and loves to gather it. How do you treat him? As a companion. I am keen to compare notes with him and collaborate. Besides, it's a friend. Simon is delighted by your openness and shared interest, and together the two of you work very effectively in gathering and storing materials. You learn more about this shy, gentle, slightly awkward boy in the process. He clearly loves his little sister Claudia, but feels a little frustrated by what he sees as her immaturity. He is devoted to Cormac. You sense that he both admires and envies Cormac's self-possession and confidence. He harbors dreams of becoming an academic at Trinity College Dublin like his father, specializing in Irish folklore. Or Oxford or Cambridge, Simon adds. He is at least supremely confident when it comes to his own academic abilities. You spend a great deal of time with him and you sense that he is coming to like you a great deal. Bottom! Your year took on a definite pattern. Summers in Ireland, the rest of the year back in London. Your mother died, leaving your father a ghost of the man he had been. Somehow, once school ended each year, it seemed preferable to return to Ireland and the Wolf's Head instead of spending the summer in that haunted South London flat with that stumbling, empty-eyed old man, unable to say any of the things he wanted to say. Ballyavon was a refuge from all of that, and Glenkildove its cool green heart, a place of respite and sanctuary. Until that day when you saw one of your friends die in blood and horror, and Ballyavon became a safe haven no longer. Chapter 2. The Minstrel Boy. I have put on a new form, a skin rough and grey. Victory comes easy to me, when I was once weak and defenceless. The Tale of Tuan MacCarroll. Lebor na Hydr. Flashback over, back to the present day. An animal howl breaks through the silence of the night. It is as though the sound hits your nervous system directly and your body reacts instantly. Despite the cold of the night, you break into a sweat. You shiver uncontrollably. Your heart pounds, your throat tightens. For a moment, you think you are going to retch. You know that sound. You last heard it at Glenkildove 8 years ago. You can hear the beast now, shuffling, heavy footsteps outside, a snuffling animal noise. It is moving slowly around the perimeter of the farmhouse. You think it might be deliberately letting you hear it, letting you work yourself up to a breaking point. But sooner or later, it will come into the house after you. It's just as Oni Madigan once told you. The beast is always hungry. Oh yes, Irish is very difficult to pronounce. Like, remember back when we were playing Reckoning of New York? And that Malkavian named Padrake turned up as one of our protagonists, which basically meant Patrick. However, where were we? What will we do? Let's seize Terry's shotgun and check its condition. We're not gonna be playing Call of Duty Zombies and boarding up the windows as we go. And we're not gonna tempt fate by looking outside the kitchen window, trying to catch a glimpse of the beast to learn what we can. We'll be a little hasty. Terry always said he was too fat and too lazy for hunting, but he was an O'Donnell, so he kept a shotgun in the house and kept it in good condition. He'd be sad to see the house now. The vandals who broke in seemed to have gathered all the crockery in the room and arranged it on the range by the fireplace and used it for target practice. Shattered porcelain lies all about the fireplace. You can pick up the shotgun and look it over. It's a 12-gauge, break-action, double-barreled shotgun. Peering down the barrels, you can see that they've corroded with rust, but you think that the gun will still fire. And it's loaded with just two shells. Maybe that will be enough to kill the beast. Maybe. It most likely won't be. Another howl tears through the night. It sounds closer this time. Much closer. The beast is coming for you. In a moment or two you will be face to face once again as you were that day in Glenkildove. Even as you prepare yourself for that moment, your mind is racing. So many things happened that last summer. Is it possible that hidden amongst those days is some clue, some hidden message in the way that events played out, some weakness of the beast, something that might somehow save your life now? Or was the fate you now face set inexorably in motion all that time ago? Warrior of Gaia not so tough after a cat shell to the skull? Hopefully this'll be enough. But another flashback. This time 9 years ago. You came back to a different dynamic the following summer. Big changes, subtle changes happened in the time that you were gone, in the months that the others spent together without you present. There were allusions to flirtations and crushes, and hints of rivalry and attraction, and you had been going through changes of your own, just as the others had. I'm very tempted to say that I realize that I can be attracted to people of all genders. Whether this means I'm just bisexual or one of them cutlery sexuals, I will leave up to you. But hey, let's be normal for tonight. No, that sounded bad. Let's be vanilla tonight. Much better. I realize that I am attracted to women. Sorry, Simon, I am banging your sister tonight. In some ways it made you feel like an outsider all over again, missing so many developments in the lives of your friends in Ballyavon. But at the same time, you sensed that this drew you to each of them. They came to know each other so well, but they didn't know you, and there was something refreshing and intriguing about that for them. Not everybody always got on with you or with each other, but everyone seemed to sense that all of you shared something hard to define, something that brought you together time after time. Only Oni always remained on the outside. Which of the six did you tend to spend the most time with? Claudia, Simon's impulsive, curious younger sister. Claudia wasn't as intelligent as her brother, but much more restless, and more interested in people than in books, in doing things than in analyzing them. Her habit of asking countless questions became more restrained as she grew older, but it never went away altogether. Spending time with her, you often noticed a surprisingly shrewd grasp of psychology on her part. You suspect that Claudia, despite her role as the tag-along little sister, understood the rest of the group better than they did themselves. See? We made the correct choice. A few days into your second summer in Ireland, Cormac comes to see you in your room at the Wolf's Head. Liam, he says without preamble, I need your help. Join me in pot sexualism. The they-them pussy is out of this world. Pussy's pussy. Watch me. Let's hear it. For some reason, Cormac always seems particularly ill at ease in the Wolf's Head. Pacing your room with his usual restless vigor, he explains the situation. His grandmother, the infamous Orla O'Donnell, is going to be holding a meeting soon with a man from Dublin, Michael Duffy, a man whom Cormac thinks is from one of the big Dublin gangs. Her sons are going to be there too, including Cormac's father Terry, as well as 2 local guards, Irish police officers, who've been in Orla's pocket for years. And whatever this meeting is about, it's been haunting Terry for weeks. He hasn't joked or smiled since Orla told him about the meeting, and he's been smoking pot and drinking heavily. Cormac shakes his head. Grandma's got no time for that. She thinks he's weak, and he hasn't earned his place in our family. I know she and the dub are gonna make him do something that could get him in trouble. I need to know what. So where do I come in? Cormac looks at you. This is where they're going to meet. The Wolf's Head. It's neutral ground. Not Dublin, and not the mountains. And I want you to find out what they say there. I need to know what they're planning for my dad. Maybe there's something I can do. I just nod quietly, waiting for more. You live here. You can go anywhere you want around the Wolf's Head. I thought you could find a way to listen in on the conversation. It's how I found out about this meeting in the first place. I listened at the door to Grandma talking to my dad. I'll try, but no promises. A few days later, Michael Duffy arrives at the Wolf's Head. He's a wiry, prematurely balding, red-eyed man with a thick Dublin accent, always dressed in a tracksuit and a leather jacket. He unconvincingly claims to be a tourist in the area, although he rarely leaves his room and seems uncomfortable and ill at ease whenever he's not surrounded by 4 walls. Mare seems to immediately clock him for what he is and shakes her head. Trouble. Orla O'Donnell is up to something, I'd be guessing. Oh well, as long as he pays his bill and doesn't frighten the horses. Duffy's suite is in the guest accommodations in the southern wing of the Wolf's Head. Like your own, it is just below the eaves of the inn's roof. It has a little sitting room attached, and you imagine that he plans to meet the O'Donnells there. If you did want to listen in, for Cormac's sake or your own curiosity, you could try to hide somewhere in the suite before the meeting starts. Or, for a less risky but more physically demanding approach, you could pull yourself up on the roof from your window, climb across the Wolf's Head roof to Duffy's window, and hope that you can overhear at least some of what is said. Or, if you have the technical skills, perhaps you can assemble a homemade bug and place it in Duffy's sitting room before the meeting starts. Now, there's gotta be an option for that. Change settings. Make the text bigger, smaller, background, sepia background. No, not these settings. Where is it? Ah, well, I suppose we can do it like this. Toggle Storyteller Mode. There. Storyteller Mode will tell you which stats are being checked each time you encounter a stat check. There. Some factors such as edges and creed will also affect stat checks. That's what I was looking for. But for now, no checks in here. But we can look at our stats once again. Since we are a wee lad, we only have 2s and 1s in all of our stats. Strength, dexterity, stamina, charisma, manipulation, composure, intelligence, wits, and resolve. As for the skills, we got 1 in melee, intimidation and awareness, and 2 in academics. Our personality is a toss-up between idealist and cynic, leaning more towards cautious, more towards conciliatory, toss-up between hedonist and ascetic, toss-up between wry and sincere, and toss-up between hunter and citizen. We have good relations with Cormac, decent with Simon, Claudia, and Kitty, and okay with Daniel, Oni, and Mare. That should be all for now. So, taking our stats into account, we've got Dexterity 1, Intelligence 2, Wits 2. So, we got no stealth to speak of, or rather Subterfuge. No Subterfuge. So I'm thinking We can at least try, with our intelligence 2, but science and technology 0, to try and make my own eavesdropping device and hide it in Duffy's sitting room. And then again, try to listen from outside, perched on the roof above the window. It's gotta be at least strength and dexterity, right? But athletics 0. I don't like the choices. Bug it is. The next day you catch a lift from Mare into Wicklow Town, the county's primary seaport and its largest urban settlement. Even here, there is not a wide selection, but you manage to find a mobile phone repair shop which has a few pieces of used tech for sale. When you return to the Wolf's Head, you have a computer microphone and a voice-activated digital recorder, of the kind used by real estate surveyors. Using a utility knife, you cut around the microphone head and peel the plastic away, until you're left with a mini condenser microphone with a wire dangling beneath it. You slide the mini condenser microphone's plug into the recorder's headphone jack. If you've done this right, you have in your hands a homemade bug, ready to be put into use. The difficulty is finding the opportunity to plant it. Duffy is wary to the point of paranoia. He has his meals brought to him in his room and rarely ventures out. At last, you decide to provide your own window of opportunity. You set the alarm off by holding a lit match underneath one of the ceiling-mounted smoke detectors in the corridor outside Duffy's room. The siren howls and you step back into an empty guest room, watching through a crack in the door. Duffy emerges, his face pale and his eyes white and staring. Moving with some difficulty, he staggers down the hallway, making his way to the courtyard where all guests and staff are supposed to assemble in the event of the fire. You wait a couple of minutes, then slip inside, recorder in hand. Inside, you soon learn how Duffy has been spending his time. There is a burnt plastic smell in the air. He has hung a plastic bag over his own smoke detector, while a smoldering glass bowl pipe lies on a coffee table, next to an unwrapped tinfoil bundle containing a scattering of off-white crystal meth fragments. He's a junkie. You don't have much time. You soon find what you were looking for. A vase of red geraniums placed on the windowsill, per Mayor's usual policy for guest rooms. You quickly take the flowers out and pour the stagnant water into the sink in the suite bathroom. Then you put the recorder into the bottom of the vase, having first turned it on. You wrap the microphone's lid around the flowers and conceal it underneath the petals of the geraniums. Then you make your way out. There is no time to search Duffy's possessions, and you doubt that there is very much you could learn from them anyway. You just have to hope your device works. That Saturday, you are sitting in the parlor when Orla O'Donnell and her sons drive up to the Wolf's Head and stride inside. It is the first time you have met her, or any of them, except Terry, who smiles weakly at you. Besides the O'Donnell boys, there are a couple of Wicklow Gardaí, Irish police officers. By all accounts, the local police force is completely under Orla's control. You suspect that she has brought the two guards along in order to make that clear to Duffy. Terry's three brothers, Seamus, Aidan, and Mark, are all big burly men, but even they seem small next to the Red O'Donnell matriarch. She is not as tall as her sons, but she is massively built, with broad shoulders and heavily muscled arms. She scowls at you. You're one of my grandson's lot, aren't you? Go get your aunt. I need to talk to her. You soon find Mare and bring her downstairs. She stiffens slightly at the sight of Orla and her sons, but gives her a coolly polite nod. Orla? Mare? There is a quiet tension in the air. We're here to see a guest of yours, Michael Duffy. All the way from the big smoke gunnel of him. He's been expecting us. So have I, says Mare. Ever since your Michael Duffy checked in fact. I keep to myself, Orla, and I live and let live. I'd appreciate the same courtesy. I don't want you doing business in the Wolf's Head. The tension increases. You notice several of Orla's boys looking to her, waiting for a signal. But she spreads her meaty hands out in a pacifying gesture. I hear what you say, Mare. I respect you. I always have. You're a woman of substance around here. It was Duffy who insisted we meet here, and I'd be happy to pay you for the inconvenience like. Mare shakes her head. I don't want your money. Just finish your business with your Mr. Duffy and go. I'll have a call put through to his room. And in future, tell your Dublin friends that the Wolf's Head is off limits. Soon Duffy comes downstairs to lead the O'Donnells up to his suite. All you can do now is wait for the meeting to conclude. An hour later, Duffy and the Red O'Donnells troop downstairs and make their way out to the car park. You seize the opportunity to retrieve the bug from Duffy's sitting room and to take it into your own room, where you swap out the microphone for a pair of earphones and press play on the recorder. To your frustration, nothing happens. You must have damaged the mini condenser microphone when you were cutting it loose. There is no way to know what was said at the meeting between Orla and Duffy. I knew it. You have failed to learn what was said at the meeting between the Red O'Donnells and their Dublin contact. Cormac will be disappointed, but perhaps there will be another opportunity. After he gets back from his drive with the Red O'Donnells, Duffy checks out, and life soon returns to normal. It is near the end of the summer, on a cold and overcast day, when Simon and Claudia turn up at the Wolf's Head looking for you. Simon is driving his mother's car, a silver Honda. He got his driving license last month and avails himself of any excuse to borrow the car. "We're finally doing it," Claudia announces, bursting into your room. "Doing what?" "Exploring the caves at Glenkildove." "What? We don't have any gear, any training? It seems like a bad idea." Claudia mimes, waving your concerns away. "Come on! We've all got all the stuff we need in the car, and Cormac's been on loads of cave trips." "3, I think," Simon puts up. "Loads," Claudia continues. "It's always miserable this time of year. After school starts, me and Simon go to our school, Kitty goes to hers, and Cormac and Daniel go to theirs, and you go back to London. We're not all together again for months." "So we should all go down the dark hole in the ground together," Simon explains. "Exactly," Claudia says. "It's the obvious course of action." "Well, good. I've been curious about those caves ever since you first mentioned them." Soon after, you are in the passenger seat of Simon's second-hand car, driving through a sudden shower of rain. The windscreen wipers fitfully wash thick dollops of rainwater away from the windscreen. "This reminds me of a joke," Claudia observes cheerfully from the back. "Is it an Irishman joke?" "In Ireland, we tell Kerryman jokes instead. I don't know who people from Kerry joke about." Claudia clears her throat. "What did St. Patrick say when he was driving the snakes out of Ireland?" But Simon has noticed someone by the side of the road. "Hey, that's old Tom!" Simon slows the car down and you look out. A white-haired, gaunt old man stands among the trees by the side of the road, heedless of the rain. His face is as weather-beaten as his clothes, his eyes foggy and distant. "You don't see him around very much these days," says Claudia, abandoning her joke for now. "Mom calls him the last of the tramps. He used to pick fruit and help out around the farm for a few quid and a place to sleep. Give him a lift, Simon. It's boring." Simon pulls into where old Tom is standing and directs you to wind the window down. Old Tom hobbles over and glares at you, and speaking. "Can I give you a lift, Tom?" Simon says. There is more of an Irish brogue to his voice, addressing old Tom, than he usually has. Tom leans in through the open window and puts his face right up next to yours, so that you can smell his reeking animal breath. He sniffs you and snarls, yellowing teeth snapping at the air in front of you. "Stay away! Stay away!" Simon, startled, pulls the car away, and old Tom staggers back, slipping in the rain and just managing to catch himself. He continues to shout incoherently after you, his voice filled with rage. "Sorry, Liam," Simon says, his voice shaky. I didn't know he was going to do that. He's always been strange, but that... I don't think someone like that should be left to wander. He could be dangerous, to himself or others. Normally around here the family would look after someone like that, Simon says, but I don't think old Tom has any family left. There is an uncomfortable silence after that. Even Claudia seems subdued. The silence is dispelled when Simon pulls the car up outside Daniel's house in the village and Daniel and Kitty pile in. Cormac always prefers to walk whenever possible. Will meet you at Glenkildove. "Ready for the descent?" Daniel asks you cheerfully. "I suppose so." A little used muddy track takes you to the edge of Glenkildove. From there, you need to push your way through the dripping wet gorse and unending downpour of the rain down into the valley. You pass by the monastery and the lake, and once again enter the woods. You experience the same feeling of unease that you did there last summer. the uncomfortable feeling of watchful eyes in the shadows. Cormac is leaning against one of the standing stones. Rain is plastering his t-shirt to his leanly muscular body. He doesn't seem to notice it. He nods at you and the others emerge from the trees. Good, you're here. Let's go. And hello to you too, Cormac, Daniel says. Fine, thank you for asking, and how are you? Cormac ignores him. The entrance to the cave system is up at the top of the waterfall, he says, pointing to the dark hollow of a cave entrance some 40 feet up. There's a track that runs alongside it. But why not take the direct route? Claudia asks with a grin. We're already soaked, so why not? Suiting actions to words, she begins to scramble up the little waterfall with the agility of a monkey, finding handholds whenever she can on the slippery rock. Cormac follows her, moving with lithe grace. Kitty looks away, shaking her head. Oh, I can't watch. I just can't watch. I'll see you at the top, presuming that neither of you brains yourself. She starts heading up the track. Daniel shrugs. I have nothing to prove. He and Simon make their way up the track after Kitty. Now that's the check for dexterity and athletics, and just so that we remember, dexterity 1, athletics 0. We are not making that. So we'll walk alongside Daniel and Simon. The narrow, steep path leading up the cliff consists of a series of steps, carved directly into the granite and smoothed by centuries of erosion. The same people who put up the standing stones cut this path, Simon tells you. Think of the labor involved with only stone tools. I think the caves were sacred to them, just as the lake and the forest at Glen Kildove were. Maybe they worshipped at the stones in summer and the cave in winter, or the other way around. Wow, imagine knowing all this stuff. You're so smart, Simon, Daniel says mock earnestly. Despite his light tone, he is clearly slightly exasperated at Simon's pedantic tendencies. Duh? Says Simon, affecting a glassy-eyed, slack-jawed expression. No. We're gonna encourage Simon to continue talking about the history of the location. We're not siding with Daniel on this one. Simon nods gratefully. After the monastic era, tradition had it that the cave was a gateway to the world of the Sidhe. In medieval Ireland, there was a tradition that everybody would come to the standing stones to dance with torches to help their crops grow. But they had to be gone by midnight, because that's when the Sidhe would come down from their caves to dance themselves. It was very dangerous to see them. Mad Jack Dunbar put an end to that tradition in the 18th century. He forbade it. At last you reach the top of the cliff. Cormac, Kitty, and Claudia are all already waiting for you, on a broad ledge of rock before the dark cave mouth. Claudia grins at you arrive. Let's go, she says, leading the way into the cave mouth. The rest of you follow. The narrow, winding tunnel at the back of the cave leads downwards through the heart of the cliff itself. A draft of cold air periodically brushes your faces as you begin the descent, as though something buried deep below is breathing in and out. For some reason, you think of the foul blast of old Tom's breath against your face in the car, hours earlier. The cave walls drip with moisture, and the light from your flashlights catches green-black moss and growths of gray-pink fungi, glistening wetly like something fleshy and living. A trick of the light sometimes seems to make them rise and fall with the wind from below. As you instinctively try to avoid touching the growths, even when the sides of the cave become uncomfortably close. Cormac has produced some white chalk and stops periodically to mark your route as you make your way down the forking paths of the cave network. He's explored many of the old mines around Wicklow in the past. Try to keep track of where we've been, he says quietly. It's easier to get lost in places like this than you realize, and they don't always look the same coming back than they did going in. We already had this experience over in the forest. The descent consumes the next 3 hours. At times it is something of an ordeal. As your exploration continues, Cormac insists on conserving the batteries of the flashlights and only using them occasionally. The rest of the time you must feel your way through with hands extended out in front of you. There are times when the way ahead becomes extremely narrow, and you have to squeeze yourselves one by one through the gap, pressing your body against the soft, fleshy, fruiting bodies of the fungi on the walls, feeling them burst softly, staining your clothes and skin. It is hard not to picture getting stuck at times such as this, 100 tons of rock pressing down on you and trapping you there to slowly fossilize. At such moments, one or another of the others will make noises about simply going back. Even Claudia is less keen than she was. But Cormac urges everyone on. He seems thrilled and excited by your surroundings, his eyes seeming to glow green in the sporadic light from your flashlights. Yep, definitely a werewolf. How are you reacting? I am simply staying focused on the immediate situation. There is something else. Every now and then, when the group pauses, you think you hear something. A wet snuffling sound like a dog sniffling the wind. The slap of footsteps coming from one of the many side passages that run parallel to the main one that you are following. It is as though someone or something is stalking you in these blind labyrinthine caves. The first 2 times you hear it, it might just be your imagination. But the third time, which occurs as Cormac calls a halt, Kitty turns on her flashlight and people pass around the water bottle and bite into chocolate bars, is undeniable. You are standing beside Cormac when you hear it. So Cormac, do you hear it? Do you hear the voices too? Yes, I've heard it for a while. He comes closer to you, speaking so that the others cannot hear him. I think there's something living down here. There are mine shafts all over the Wicklow Hills, and some of them probably connect with these caves. I think a deer or a fox or something must have fallen down a shaft and isn't able to get out. That's what we're hearing. But don't tell the others. They're on the verge of running as it is. A horrible underground dwelling mutant deer would probably be the last straw. Our secret, right? Yep, that's exactly the quote that I had in my head when I said that. Good catch, Carmine, good catch. Soon afterwards, you emerge into a large cavern, its floor covered in gritty sand. Judging by the breeze on your face, there are several openings besides the one you entered through. There is a momentary feeling of relief as being able to stand upright again and feel the air less chokingly close around you. Simon flicks on his flashlight, then gasps in amazement. Look! You look in the direction of the beam of light. The walls are covered in brown-red paintings. The images are crude, little more than stick figures, and yet somehow they have an astonishing vitality and energy to them. In the light from Simon's flashlight, they look as though they might leap off the walls. There are pictures of towering Irish elk and humans hunting them with spears and bows and arrows, and others of people planting and sowing or tending to cattle. Extraordinary, Simon murmurs. I think this cave was a sacred place, a shrine. If it's as old as the standing stones, it must be thousands and thousands of years old, or even older. This is incredible. I think we can be in awe for a bit, just for now. Nobody else responds to Simon, engrossed as they are in the haunting images on the walls. Simon's flashlight beam plays along the wall. The hunting and farming scenes give way to a great gathering, crowds of people depicted as prostrating themselves and pressing their foreheads to the ground. At the front of the line, a tall female figure wearing the antlers of an Irish elk like a crown kneels and holds a baby aloft. Simon? Kitty asks, her voice curiously level. What is this? What are they doing to that little baby? I think this is showing the rites of Crom Cruach, Simon says. There is a tradition that long ago in Ireland, in exchange for great harvests of grain, the people would sacrifice their firstborn to the god Crom Cruach at the place of adoration. He moves the flashlight beam onwards, in the direction that the antler-headed woman is offering the baby. There, among standing stones recognizable as those of Glenkildove, stands a figure much taller and broader than any of the human beings, its claws raised in exultation, its head that of a snarling red-black wolf. Crom Cruach, says Simon, his voice shaky. The beast, whispers Cormac from somewhere in the shadows. Well, obviously we gotta feel horror and revulsion at the sight before us, as any good hunter should. There's delirium kicking in. Gotta get the delirium so that it later proves to be beneficial to us. Just then, a terrible howl echoes through the cavern. It is a sound that you feel as much as you hear, your body reacting with feverish nausea and uncontrollable shaking as terror floods through it. Simon screams and drops the flashlight, and before you're all plunged into darkness. Something is racing towards you at an incredible speed, its footsteps scraping the sand of the cavern floor. So what do? Turn the flashlight back on, run, or shout? Shouting is of course tempting fate. Running can be a little bit dangerous, so let's do as the horror story protagonists do and turn the flashlight on. Gotta see what's coming, gotta face your fears, gotta get a glimpse one last time before it tears your face off. You flick your light on, and for just a moment you catch a glimpse of your attacker, a great black mass of shadows running on all fours. It moves faster than anything that big should be able to. Its head flicks upwards at the light of your flashlight, and for a moment you stare, mesmerized, into a pair of shining golden eyes. This was how it was, you suddenly realize, with a strangely lucid calm. For the first humans in the primeval forest, creeping through the darkness, barely daring to draw breath, because they knew that the beasts were out there, far stronger and faster than they. This is what we are, stripped of our machines and gadgets and comforting lies about the world. We are prey. Then the moment passes and you have switched off the flashlight and you're running faster than you would have believed possible. What follows is a desperate scramble through the subterranean maze. The tunnels of the cave network weave in and out of large caverns like the one with the paintings. They spiral, rise, fall, turn back on themselves, and narrow and widen unpredictably. Sometimes it feels as though the beast is so close behind you that you can almost feel its hot breath on the back of your neck. But gradually you gain ground on it, and after an interminable period of running and crawling, you can no longer hear it behind you at all. You are exhausted. Your body is covered in cold sweat and you are beginning to shake uncontrollably. You will not be able to go much further without dropping from fatigue. You are just passing through another cavern when a familiar voice hisses to you from one of the side tunnels. "Hey, over here!" It is Cormac. He is lying against the tunnel wall, his flashlight switched on but placed on the ground by his side. His right leg is stretched out in front of him as though he injured it. He is drinking from his water flask and offers you some as you squat down beside him. "I couldn't keep going anymore. I thought I'd rather die in a light anyway." Don't talk that way. We're gonna get out of this." Cormac smiles painfully. He looks at you, his head cocked to one side. His eyes are bright and he speaks rapidly with a slight delirious stir. "I thought whatever it is, was gonna get me. It was so close and then it seemed to go away, just in time. I twisted my ankle. I don't think it's gone for good." He hesitates, looking at you as though hesitating to say what's on his mind. "I know somebody turned their torch on right before it attacked. Somehow, I knew it was you. I don't even know if I want to know, but what did you see? What was it?" "I saw a beast, an animal, running on all fours. It had yellow eyes." "An animal," Cormac sighs wearily. "Like a bear or a wolf. We don't have any wolves in Ireland, not since Mad Jack Dunbar did for the last one, and we haven't had bears in thousands of years. Something that shouldn't be." "I've been thinking," Cormac says, his eyes gleaming feverishly. "If I died down here, if we all died down here, what would I regret?" "There's a lot of things I'd regret. That's why I don't intend to die down here." "I've been thinking a lot lately. Someone has feelings for me. I know it, even though I pretend not to. Truth is, I like it. I like feeling desired. I like knowing that he'd do pretty much anything for me. And I thought that was about it. See? Told you. Told you about Simon, told you about that. But no, I thought of Simon just now, right when I thought that thing was gonna kill me. I thought of his stupid grin and his glasses and the way he just has to know everything about everything, and how scared he used to be of the dark when we were little. He's gentle. We're not gentle in my family. Maybe that's why he sometimes makes me so angry. But maybe I also love that about him. Maybe I also love him. On to the next album. That one should be this one. You know what? Let's encourage it. You should just ask him out. Even if it doesn't work out, it could be fun for you both. Cormac squints at you. It's not that simple. What about you? Everybody's a little curious about you, you know? You're such a mystery in your own way. Is there somebody that you like? We're probably gonna die down here, you might as well tell me. I'm in love with his tomboy sister, what can I say? I have feelings for Claudia. You'll probably understand. Really? Cormac looks surprised. I suppose she's pretty, objectively speaking. And she can be a lot of fun. But I've never really seen her as anything but Simon's little sister. Cormac is about to continue when a shout interrupts you. Cormac! Liam! Come quick! It is Daniel standing at the mouth of the tunnel in which you are lying. Daniel is standing with the others in the cavern, with lit flashlights in their hands. It's good to see you both, he whispers. I thought, well, you know. The group discusses what happened in the painted cave in hushed whispers. The beast was on Cormac's heels for a long time, but according to Cormac, it suddenly and abruptly seemed to seize the pursuit and let him escape. It's still out there somewhere, though, says Daniel. Whatever it is, we can't go back the way we came. It could be waiting for us. I think we should follow the draft. If air gets in here, there must be another way out, too. Let's say nothing, just nod along and keep walking. Or rather, begin walking. You all move off together in the direction of the draft, although it seems to lead steadily downwards even as your exhaustion mounts. You sense that everybody is having the same thought. What if this path just leads you deeper into the maze until you're lost forever? And if it does, would you rather die of exposure or have the beast find you in the dark? No. Not thinking those thoughts. This is the little death that leads to big death. Keep thinking straight. It is after a long period of stumbling like sleepwalkers through the dark, hands extended out in front of you, that a miracle occurs. You see light in front of you. Dazzling, blinding yellow light. A tall silhouette is moving towards you, its features concealed by the light on its head, presumably a headlamp. As it comes closer, you and your eyes adjust to the sudden bright light. You can see that it is a woman, her broad, strong features framed by dark, curly hair. She's wearing a wet cloth over her mouth and nose, which slowly rises and falls with her breathing. She nods to you and speaks through her makeshift face mask, her gravelly voice muffled and tinged with a slight accent you find hard to place. Good. I found you. I'm here to help. Come this way. We need to get you all out. The woman guides you down a series of passages, following a convoluted, tortuous route back through the caves that you could never have found on your own. But somehow, through the blur of fatigue and waning adrenaline, you find yourself back outside the caves above the waterfall, breathing in the fresh rain-washed air of a soft, mellow Irish evening. The events in the caves below seem like an unreal nightmare. The woman gruffly introduces herself as Imane Mokrani, the owner of the lands adjoining Glenkildove. She removes the damp cloth from her face to lead you down the hillside, back through the glen, and into her Land Rover, where she takes a pair of shades from the sun visor pocket. The others, most of them too tired to even speak, collapse into the back, but Imane gestures for you to take the passenger seat. You sense that it has been a long time since she spoke with much anyone else, and she seems to have difficulty finding words. Hop in. I'll get you home. Glad I found you, she says as the car pulls out across the fields. That Madigan girl, that Oni, told me where you were. Don't go there again. It's dangerous. There was an animal, a beast. She shakes her head. Not what I meant. Imane looks at you, her face grave. It's the mushrooms, on the walls. They make you see things. Terrible things. Why I wore that cloth, see? You were breathing in their spores the whole time you were down there. Couple more hours down there, your brains would have turned into mush. Scrabbling at the walls, screaming at the darkness. The caves go much, much deeper than you saw. I think that's what happened to the Japanese girl, that tourist in the 80s. I think she went into the caves of Glenkildove and something happened to her down there. Something very bad. And she never came up again. It's not good to talk about things you might have seen in the caves, things your brain told you that you saw or heard. Not good to think about them either. It was none of it real, none of it. The mushrooms stir things up from deep down, things from the darkest places of your mind. They come for you down there, but you got out. You survived. That's all that matters. All that will ever matter. Sounds more like delirium to me, but sure. My brain is racing. I feel as though there are things here that don't make sense, but I'm so exhausted it is hard to pursue the thread in my mind. We'll think it over later. Silence falls. I ask Imane how she came to know Oni. I've bought horses from her family, Imane says. They don't try to cheat you more than anyone else in my experience. Always liked Oni. Ghostly little thing she was as a kid, with her big eyes and strange ways. She comes by every so often for a cup of tea. By now you have reached Baliavon. Imane drops off the Fox siblings outside their family home on the outskirts of the village, and Daniel and Kitty at their neighboring cottages. Cormac gets out there too, muttering that he wants to walk home by himself, that he needs the night air. Nobody says very much. It is as though you all still feel the need to process the events that happened in the caves and Imane's revelation that you were drugged for the entire time. With just the two of you left, Imane drives up to the wolf's head and lets you out. She puts a hard hand on your shoulder as you prepare to emerge. Wait. She squints at you. I think I understand you. The caves and what's in them, they strip things away, show you what a person really is. You're brave. You have to know. You have to see for yourself, no matter what the consequences. I understand feeling that way. But it will lead you down some very dark paths. There are things out there you really don't want to know. There are places in this world where you can get lost forever. And Glenkildove is one of them. Don't go there again. Imane draws her hand back and looks at you over her shades. Think about what I've said, Liam. I'll bear it in mind. She grunts and nods, seemingly more to herself as though pursuing some thought of her own, and drives away. She found you then. Turning, you see Oni. She is seated on the lawn, her slim arms wrapped around her knees, white blonde hair fallen across them. Oni, I think I owe you. I knew you were in danger, and I knew Imane could help, but I'm afraid she came too late. No, Imane got there in time. Everyone's fine. Oni looks sad. I really hope she did. I really and truly hope she did. She looks away. I think something very bad began today. Or maybe it really began before that, maybe months before that, or maybe thousands of years before that. And I'm sorry. Because maybe I could have done something. I was frightened. I thought that telling Imane would be enough. Maybe there was more I could have done, but I was fearful, and now we'll all pay the price. You, me, your friends, even Imane. Okay, stop it with the survivor's guilt. Thousands of years ago. Is this something to do with the paintings we saw in the cave? She puts an urgent finger to her lips. Best not to speak of what you saw down there. Didn't Imane say? Oni abruptly abandons the topic. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry. Please remember that when it all falls apart. Please remember that I did try, even if it wasn't enough. Please remember what I said. Please remember Oni Madigan. She is pleading with you now, her eyes wide and frightened, although you cannot tell why she is so afraid. Let's take her serious for a moment, because she has definitely traded herself away for our safety. I promise I will. The Fae will not erase my memory of you. Oni Madigan. Oni closes her eyes and nods. She turns away without a word more, and you make your way inside. Lovely. Heightened level of danger in my area. We'll see how the situation develops. We'll see. You only see a little of the others before it's time to return to London. Nobody seems to want to talk about what happened, about the terror you experienced down in the caves, or what came of it. One thing Imane said is clearly true. The drugged air of those caves revealed some disquieting truths. Truths which have affected the dynamic of the entire group. Nobody seems sure what might happen next. You return to London, and Ireland becomes a kind of a distant green dream, with your experiences in the cave as its disquieting coda. You are more focused on your A-levels, the final exams that will determine your possibilities for college. Your results are outstanding. Thanks to hard work and natural ability, you achieve a very high standard and can look forward to your choice of Britain's top universities. Even your father is momentarily stirred from his usual miasma of depression by your accomplishment. Making an effort for the first time since your mother's death, he takes you to a Mayfair restaurant to celebrate. He does ultimately ruin the evening by drinking too much afterwards and falling asleep soon after you get home, however. Honestly, I would be elated and excited to start university. I know I did back all those years ago. And then summer comes and you return to Ireland. You have heard little from Cormac or any of the others in Ballyavon over the course of the year. They have been too busy studying for their own final exams, the Irish Leaving Certificate, to communicate with much on social media or by text. They received their results not long before your arrival. You hear about it all over a pint of Guinness in the parlour of the Wolf's Head. Everyone is there, except Cormac. The group has begun to drink another of those changes that you've missed. Mayor poured each one a ceremonious pint of Guinness on the day of their 18th birthday. Claudia, to her vocal disgust, is still forbidden alcohol, and Simon politely declined his. He's rightly declared that he wants his first experience with drink to be a proper student pub crawl. To nobody's surprise, Simon has excelled, getting H1s, the highest grade possible, in all subjects, and has already been accepted into Trinity College Dublin, studying Irish and history. Daniel has also done very well, and Kitty has achieved a respectable result. Claudia, a year younger than everyone else, has yet to take the leaving certificate, and Oni has long since dropped out of school. That leaves Cormac. Nobody knows what his results are, as he refuses to discuss them. Daniel seems convinced that he must have failed altogether and be facing the prospect of receiving the leaving cert next year. Of course he won't tell us, Daniel says. It's raining outside and raindrops splatter against the diamond-patterned windows of the snug Wolf's Head parlor. A band is playing in the other room, the mournful folk standard She Moved Through the Fair. He's too proud to admit he failed. That's Cormac all over. Kitty frowns. Cormac was really applying himself this year. He wants to go to London for a year to work on his music, and his dad told him that he won't let him unless he did decently on his leaving cert. And that'd be great, wouldn't it? Cormac and Liam would be able to hang out all the time, do cool London stuff. Gotta back Kitty on this one. Cormac's not stupid. As long as he saw the point in doing okay not on the leaving cert, he'd be able to. But Simon doesn't look convinced. I'm going to drive up to the farm and talk to him tonight. I don't think he failed either, but I'm worried about him. I think I know where this is going. Do you know where this is going? Daniel shrugs. It's yet another O'Donnell special, if you ask me. Something goes wrong, storm off and sulk until somebody comes running to kiss it better. You can do what you like, Simon, but personally I'm not letting him ruin another evening. Daniel intends to stay at the Wolf's Head for another drink and persuades Kitty to stay with him. Simon is going to drive to the O'Donnell farm to talk to Cormac. Claudia is going to cycle home before the rain gets any worse. And you haven't had a proper chance to talk to Aunt Mare since you arrived. What will you do? Considering everything, I'm very tempted that I'll ask Simon to take him with us, or rather take us with him to go see Cormac. And there we'll watch him die by the beast of Glenkildove. Alternatively, we can try to invest a little bit more into our friendship with Claudia. And we can always speak to Aunt Mare later. Hopefully. But what do you think of that one? Because, as I mentioned, I am leaning more towards going with Simon. No objections on this one? Well, not yet. Because as you have probably pieced together by now, Cormac is a werewolf or werewolf adjacent. So he will disappear from the story for a little while. And we'll encounter him in the future. But yes, do cast your votes. I can wait for at least a minute. Yeah, ponder that one for a moment. Okay. And there's something to brighten up your day. New round. You do you. I believe you still have the mod rights in the chat. Oh yes, they did change moderator stuff. That is slightly unpleasant. If you're having difficulties with that, there we go. And delete. There we go. Not a challenge. So, one final checkup. Do we go with Simon or do we go with Claudia? Seeing Cormac sounds like engaging with the plot, and I don't think we're at the point yet where we have to worry about characters spontaneously turning into mincemeat if we let them out of sight for 5 minutes. So if I understood you correctly, Carmine, you're leaning towards Claudia. I, of course, like to be proven wrong. And while we are waiting, let's see if our stats have changed yet. I don't think they have. Well, we are, of course, leaning towards being hedonist. So I guess that's that. And we are starting to build up more rapport with Cormac. and Oni. Ah, so you are leaning towards Cormac and the studio. And what would be your final say in your round? Because it is at this point a coin toss. I can go with either option, but it should be interesting at the very least. Claudia, huh? I guess we are in need of a coin toss. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3. Well, that's grand. Also, I forgot to assign that. Let's go with Claudia. I'll get out my own bike and ride with Claudia. Claudia grins at the suggestion that you ride along with her. All right, she says. I mean, you're the one going to be paddling back up the hill to the Wolf's Head in the rain. But the rain is already pelting down as you make your way out of the courtyard. Even the bright yellow high-visibility jacket that Claudia wears while cycling at night is obscured by the relentless veils of rain. But the weather doesn't seem to affect Claudia's mood. Whooping cheerfully, she cycles out onto the road. The Wolf's Head was built on top of the steep hill beyond Ballyavon. It commands stunning views of the mountains beyond. The descent into the village of Ballyavon is a very steep, unlit incline, one that is now slick with rainwater. This is gonna be a wild ride, Claudia confides to you, one leg on either side of her bike as she looks down the descent, rainwater dripping off her helmet. She looks very happy. Yep, you do try to figure out the moderator stuff. I'm sure that there aren't too many changes to that one, but still. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's go! Claudia grins at you. And with that, she is gone, speeding down the wet tarmac of the slope at frightening speed. Another dexterity and athletics check. Dexterity 1, athletics 0. We are not taking that. Instead, we followed a slower pace, braking more frequently. Claudia is soon just a distant yellow blur, but you follow your own pace, moving downhill more carefully. Claudia is waiting for you at the bottom of the slope, leaning on her bike. She mounts up when you arrive, and the two of you are soon cycling through the village. The Fox House in Ballyavon is on the outskirts of the village. A new-built, 3-story building with solar panels on the roof and a Hyundai SUV parked in the immaculate gravel drive outside. "This is me," Claudia says with a wave of her hand. "Casa de Claudia. You want to come in until the rain dies down? My parents will be asleep, but I couldn't make you a cup of tea." Ah, since you are figuring it on mobile, it is a tinge more difficult. You know what? Sure, I accept. I want to spend more time with you. Sorry, Simon. The Fox kitchen is like the rest of the house, neatly appointed and sparklingly clean with a wide range of stainless steel kitchen gadgets. There's something slightly obsessive about how tidy everything is, hard to square with Claudia's cheerfully messy nature. "It's my mom," she says as she boils the kettle while you sit at the white kitchen table. "My dad, too, I suppose. They both like to have everything just so." Claudia talks about her parents and her brother as she makes the tea and the two of you drink it. It strikes you that she lives a somewhat lonely life. Her family's status as Protestants draws invisible but deep lines of the local community. Cormac and the others are the only Catholic friends she has, while a handful of other Protestants in the area are mostly elderly eccentrics. You get the impression that her parents are old-fashioned, formal people, even around their children. And Simon, while a loving older brother, is also often lost in his books and his thoughts half the time. Part of Claudia's incessant, insatiable curiosity about people seems to come from this sense of being an outsider even in her own hometown, from her frustration at never knowing what is going on around her. At last, your tea finished, you say your goodbyes and make your way home on your bike. By now the worst of the rain is over, and you cycle home through just a light drizzle. It is long past midnight when you get to the Wolf's Head and you make your way in through the back entrance and up to your room. Stripping your wet clothes off, you lie down on the bed and are soon asleep. Your dreams are troubled and murky that night. You are back in the caves, but now it is pitch dark. All you know is that something is hunting you through the darkness. It is sniffing for your scent, racing on all fours through the maze of blind tunnels, and if it catches you, the worst thing in the world will happen to you. The tunnel you're in gets narrower and narrower, forcing you to bend down and then to wriggle on your belly as the cave ceiling inexorably lowers and lowers. You're putting your face and mouth against the cold, gritty rock, and suddenly, it is not rock, but the moist, yielding fungus, forcing its way into your mouth, pressing clammily against your skin. You realize that you are merging with it, being absorbed by it, and suddenly you know that this transformation, is the worst thing in the world. You wake up to early morning sunlight, your pillow soaked with sweat. The nightmare has left a foul taste in your mouth. A couple of days pass. The weather gets steadily hotter as Midsummer's Day approaches. There is a dry, thundery taste to the air, like a crackle of electricity on the tongue. Every day, the sky above the Wicklow hills is the same vivid shade of blue, and every day brings the same haze of heat. Misty, Aunt Mare's sheepdog, seems to be driven near insane by the weather. She is constantly howling or whimpering. She often shakes uncontrollably and dashes through the wolf's head looking for a hiding place, as though pursued by invisible enemies. Every night you are troubled by nightmares, almost all of them the same. You're in the caves again, being hunted in the dark. Some nights, unable to sleep, you stare out the window of your room under the eaves towards the mountains in the distance that shelter Glenkildove. Sometimes you think you see pale lights moving about up there, where the standing stones must be. What do you think about it? Well, let's be paddling towards the plot developing here, and think about Cormac. Somehow I know something terrible is coming for him. Perhaps for us all. Perhaps he's out there in Glenkildove right now, sleeping rough in the hills, as he sometimes does. Perhaps he sees what makes those strange lights around the standing stones. Why is it that when you think of Cormac you feel so weighed down by ominous forebodings? Then, on Sunday morning, it comes. Kitty comes in as you and Aunt Mare sit down to breakfast one morning, her face pale. "Liam," she blurts out, "I heard in the village. It's Cormac's da. He's been arrested." "Name of God," says Mare. She jumps to her feet and gets Kitty seated with a cup of tea in front of her. "What happened? Is Cormac all right?" The whole story gradually emerges. It seems that the O'Donnells were running a marijuana plantation up in the mountains. The guards raided it late last night, arresting everyone who worked there. Among the workers were a number of Vietnamese people, none of whom appeared to speak English or own a passport. The guards are saying that they were trafficked and forced to work on the plantation against their will. Terry O'Donnell, Cormac's father, has been arrested as the owner of the land, although speculation in the village is that it was his mother, Orla O'Donnell, who was behind the operation. "Simon and Claudia's parents have already picked up Cormac from the farmhouse," Kitty says. "They're going to have him to stay with them while his da's away." Mayor nods. "They'll look after him. Come on, Liam, Kitty, let's pick up Daniel, then go to the Foxes. Cormac needs you." "Father Matt, Terry's cousin, is in Rome at the moment. I wish he were here. He's always been the only person who can talk to Orla when she's in rage." You drive down into Ballyavon, collecting a subdued Daniel on your way through the village, before arriving at the Fox house on the outskirts of Ballyavon. Outside the house, a confrontation is in progress. Orla O'Donnell, Cormac's grandmother, and her son Aidan, one of Terry's brothers, stand in front of their van in the neatly gravelled Fox driveway. With them is Aidan's oldest boy, Donnoch. Both Aidan and Donnoch are gripping shotguns. The Fox family are standing facing them. Simon and his parents along with Cormac. Claudia is still away on a summer school trip to Northern Ireland, although she is due back tomorrow. Simon and Claudia's father, Dr. Fox, grey-haired and smartly dressed even on a weekend morning, looks visibly intimidated by the O'Donnells. "You can't take him," he says weakly, his eyes on the guns. "Cormac doesn't want to go with you. Terry is one of our oldest friends and—" Orla O'Donnell cuts him off. "And nothing! I should never have let Terry go to college in Dublin. Proud friends and lazy, shiftless ways, that's all he got from it. It made him think he was too good for us here, And look what came of it. The boy belongs with us. Maybe he won't be a total waster like his da, but only if we take him in right now. Okay. Composure and intimidation. Composure 1, intimidation 1. Coin toss, I'd say. Intelligence and streetwise. Intelligence 2, streetwise 0. Wits and insight. Wits 2, insight 0. 1, 1 or 2, 0. I guess we can go for 1, 1. I step in and confront her directly, trying to force her to back off. Composure and intimidation. If Cormac doesn't want to go with you, he's not going. You stare at Orla O'Donnell, the tension between the two of you growing steadily. You know enough about this woman to know that she is capable of having you killed, but you do not drop your steady gaze. She stares at you. There is baffled rage in her face. You doubt that she can remember the last time anyone defied her. But then, unexpectedly, she barks a laugh and genuine amusement seems to shine in her eyes. "Jesus, you're a Grogan, all right," she says. "Your aunt's the only person I ever knew wasn't afraid of me." She looks sourly at Aiden. Why can't you and the other lads raise him like that? They're like bollocks on angel dust. All muscle, no brain, and no heart either." Orla grimaces. As for young Cormac, he's most likely already a lost cause. Useless, just like his da. She addresses Cormac. "You stick with your Protestant friends, lad, and much good may they bring you. You're no Red O'Donnell, that's plain as day. Come on, boys, nothing we need around here." Cormac has been watching the exchange closely. You can tell he is impressed with your nerve and resolve. You're probably the first person he has ever seen defy his grandmother. Well, I can't say that we have been equally terrible. We did succeed here, so good on us, I'd say. Donagh O'Donnell, already as tall and broad in the shoulders as his uncles and father, his features thick and brutal, has been staring intently at Kitty ever since you arrived. Now as the Red O'Donnells return to their van, he addresses her. "Hey, Akushla, if you ever get bored with your little boyfriend there," he says, indicating Daniel, "give us a call. I'll give you something you can't get from him." He winks at her and grabs his crotch. Kitty rolls her eyes. "Not if you were the last man in Ireland, Donagh O'Donnell." Orla slaps her grandson around the head so hard that he staggers forward. "Shut up! You'll show respect for when around your grandma." She glares at Aiden, Donagh's father. "That's how you're raising your boys?" "Sorry, Ma," Aiden mumbles. After the Red O'Donnells have departed, you find yourself alone with Cormac in the immaculate living room of the Fox house. Even the glass coasters on the coffee table have been laid out with mathematical precision. He is sitting on the spotless white sofa, staring into space, his body rigid. "Can't get comfortable here," he says. "I'm afraid of breaking something, or getting something dirty. Ah, Jesus, how do you think Claudia grew up in a place like this? That girl's messier than I am." Oh, my throat is killing me. Or they're starting to kill me. But I think we'll go on for a little while longer and then call it for tonight. At least we'll get through this flashback. He speaks lightly, but you can tell from his voice that he is holding back tears. Just pour it all out, Cormac. Just pour it all out. Cormac is silent for a while, then speaks bluntly and abruptly. "My dad's already as good as dead. They're going to kill him." "You mean your family?" "My family. My grandma, really. My uncles just do as she says. She knows my dad. She knows he's weak. She knows he never handle prison. He'll try to make a deal with the guards, the idiot. And so she'll have him killed." Cormac stares bleakly out into nothing. Maybe my dad wasn't always the best father. Especially after Mammy died, he smoked a bit too much, drank a bit too much. Sometimes when I was little, he'd pick me up and spin me around and around till I got dizzy and my head swam and there was nothing but blue sky and the warmth of his arms and the smell of him, like smoke in the rain. And I never wanted him to let go because I felt so safe. He's my dad. Abruptly, he changes the subject. I dreamt last night about the caves. I've been dreaming of them too. I was going down into them, deeper than we went before. So deep that I had to squeeze my way through at times. But it felt good. I felt like it was where I belonged, where I always meant to be. And then, my skin began to itch. It began to itch so bad I had to rub it against the rocks of the cave. And as I itched, my skin began to come away. It came away in great patches whenever I rubbed it, and underneath it was rough grey hide. And it felt so good, so cool and so free. And I just wanted to tear it off all off then, and all that restricting itchy skin, rip it off with my nails. He looks at you, pain and confusion evident in his eyes. Told you he's a werewolf. Everyone is talking about how you haven't been the same since the caves. Did something happen to you down there? Nothing. I was off my head on magic mushrooms. We all were. That's all. He clearly doesn't want to talk anymore, so you make your exit. The next day, Midsummer's Eve, dawns cloudless and hotter than ever. A heat haze dances all around the Wolf's Head grounds, blurring the outlines of gravel paths and neatly tended lawns into one single shimmering haze. Terry O'Donnell's bail is paid by his family. The case has stirred up some attention in the national press, and you watch him on TV that afternoon, emerging from the prison gates onto a Dublin street. He looks pale, unwell and disheveled. Somehow much smaller and older than the big, jocular man who greeted you with a joke and a wink when you first arrived at his farm. His brother Seamus is waiting for him in the black car across the street. Terry, seeing him, brushes past the reporters without acknowledging them and gets into the car. The look on his face when he sees Seamus is neither relief nor fear, but a kind of numb, weary acceptance, like an exhausted animal seeing the end approaching. You think about Cormac's suspicions. There is something about the expression on Terry's face. You know that they are going to kill him. Your phone rings. It's Simon. Liam, I'm worried about Cormac. I knocked on his door after the news about his father came out. There was no answer. He's not there. He's not in the house. And I think I know where he's gone. The Glenkildove Caves? That's right. He's been talking about the Glenkildove Caves a lot. I don't know why, but he's never been quite the same ever since we went into them last year. Maybe none of us have. I think he wants to go back down there. I think he wants to stay there. Forever. Simon meets with you with Claudia, Kitty, and Daniel at the Wolf's Head. Inside Simon's car, it is even hotter than outside, and you are drenched in sweat over the course of the ride over the hills to Glenkildove. At the edge of the valley, Simon parks the car. He looks sick with worry and fear. Claudia, too, looks pale and wan, despite the heat and the sweat trickling down her forehead. I don't want to go back into the caves. I don't want to. I can't. I don't know what happened down there. I don't know how much of it was real, but I can't ever go back there. Not even for Cormac. Maybe we can call the guards or something. We can't do that, Claudia, Simon protests. They don't know those caves, not the way we do. And I think we're the only ones who can save Cormac anyway. We're his friends. We can help him. Honestly, Claudia, if you cannot do that, then wait outside and the rest of us can go. You'll be our getaway driver should things go bad. But this time there will be no Ani to save us. Anyway, you are our designated driver. Of course Cormac's down there somewhere, waiting for us to come looking for him, Daniel suddenly puts in. He sounds angry. The way he always does, because that's what he loves to do. Storm off, make himself the center of attention, wait for us to come running. Daniel, his dad was arrested, says Kitty. Daniel makes a face. You can do what you want. I think Claudia had the right idea. Call the guards, tell them to have save his stupid arse from himself. I didn't say that, Claudia says. I'd go down there if I could, I swear to God, I just can't. Daniel scowls. I'm not doing this. Not for Cormac. I'm sorry about his die and all, I really am, but this is the latest in a long, long line of Cormac's particular brand of bollocks. He storms off downslope into the woods in no particular direction. Simon shakes his head. This is a disaster. We need to stick together. Kitty, go after him. Talk some sense into him. But Kitty is glaring back at him, suddenly and uncharacteristically angry. Why? Why is it always my job, Simon? Why do I always have to be the one kissing everyone's hurdies and making peace? Because you... Simon begins, stammering, but Kitty overrides him. No! The lot of you have been taking me for granted for years. Oh, Kitty will bring this, Kitty will do that. You've never shown me any respect. Not you, not your sister, not Cormac, and definitely not Daniel. She looks at you. Maybe you're different. Maybe you try. Sometimes. But I've had enough. She steps away, then looks back. I'm going. For once in my life, I get to storm off and all of you get to worry. She takes off in a different direction from Daniel. Simon recovers himself. Whatever. I'm going to find Cormac. He makes off down the hill into the trees. Simon! Claudia calls after him. She starts to follow. We follow too. Claudia is just ahead of you as she enters the tree line, and Simon not far ahead of her, but somehow both of them disappear by the time you plunge into the darkness under the trees yourself. For a moment, the shade from the heat of the afternoon sun is a relief, but soon disquiet replaces it. Even more so than the first time you entered these woods, there is something deeply disorienting about them. Just a handful of steps in, you are no longer certain which way the open ground lies. It is as though the ancient trees have pressed in behind you, blocking off any chance of escape and forcing you forwards to whatever waits you at the heart of the woods. You stop to listen and notice for the first time how quiet it is. No sound of birdsong, no drowsy hum of bees. It is as though nature itself is holding its breath. Then you hear Cormac's voice speaking angrily from somewhere around you. Or somewhere ahead of you. You hear Simon's voice, although it is pitched too low for you to make out individual words. And then, once again, you hear that terrible sound that you heard in the caves. That animal howl of rage, and the human scream rising to meet it. A scream of terror that quickly turns to one of agony. Just as I thought then. There are gaps in your memory at this point. You don't know quite how you found yourself at the foot of the little hill on the western edge of the wood, looking up at the standing stones. But you remember seeing that strange red bundle propped up against the largest of the standing stones, flies already buzzing around it in the unforgiving summer sun. That object that had been so torn and ripped and worried that it took a moment or so to recognize it as something that had once been a human being. And longer to determine, from the shredded clothes still clinging to the bloody meat and bone, that it was the body of Simon Fox. You do remember being sick, as the realization of what you were looking at sank in, and the bitter taste in your mouth afterwards. Simon's death was never solved. The teeth and claw marks in his body suggested a big, powerful wild animal such as a bear, but Ireland's wild bears died out thousands of years ago. Many of the older inhabitants of Ballyavons insisted that it must be the beast. Certain tabloids persistently speculated that you and the others must have formed some kind of teenage death cult and murdered Simon as a sacrifice at the Standing Stones, although the Gardays repeatedly emphasized that no human being could have inflicted the kind of damage that they found on Simon's body. Cormac was never seen or heard from again. Learning of his fixation with the caves, the Garday hypothesized that, fleeing from Simon's killer, he might have re-entered them and perhaps got lost in the labyrinthine passages below the surface, or fell victim to the same mysterious predator that killed Simon. Gas-masked searches of the cave, organized and led by Imane Mokrani, found nothing. You can't remember seeing any of the others again after that day in Glenkildove. You're told Simon's funeral took place soon after. You remember nothing about it. You must have returned to London without delay. You remember little except fragments. For a long time you just stayed in your room in your father's flat, staring up at the cracks in the ceiling. Simon's death haunted you, ate away at your mind and your memory. What troubled you the most about it? Yep, seen that one coming from a mile away. Either Cormac turned into a werewolf, that was his first turning into werewolf, can't remember how exactly it's supposed to be called, and he tore Simon to shreds. Tragic, I know. Or the beast was a different werewolf that tore Simon to shreds, and Cormac was just standing there and watching. But in regards to what we are feeling about that, and there it is. Alarm called off. Wonderful. I'm leaning towards the mystery of it all. What really killed Simon? And what happened to Cormac? And why are my memories of the event so fragmented? Spoiler, it's the delirium kicking in. You never heard from any of the others again. Gradually, you found yourself able to slowly emerge from your room. You're still troubled by frequent nightmares, and your memories of the time leading up to Simon's death have never fully returned. And life had to go on. What did you do next? Well, there it is. Looking for a sense of purpose, I applied to join the Royal Marines Commando. We gotta go with that one. All in favor? All against? Yep, remember dog soldiers, even though they were regular army. And the elites got torn to shreds before the events of the movie. Or rather, off-screen. So yeah, Royal Marines Commando it is. Basic training at the Marines Training School in Devon had this advantage. Most days you were too exhausted to suffer from nightmares or dwell on the events of the past. You were made to conduct long runs through the woods in full kit and to scramble across muddy obstacle courses, climbing cargo netting, negotiating treacherous pitfalls, and plummeting heart-stopping drop slides. Within a few weeks you were in the best physical condition you had ever been in your life. You were made to repeatedly disassemble and assemble an assault rifle until you could do it blindfolded. You were dropped out in the woods and left to find your own way back through Dead Reckoning. No matter how well you performed in these exercises, praise from your instructors was vanishingly rare and criticism constant, harsh, and unsparing. There followed 6 years, first as a Royal Marines Commando and then later in the Elite Counter-Terrorist Special Boat Service. You did tours of duty in Afghanistan and Iraq and carried out missions in Africa and Latin America. Your life was in danger many times and you saw some horrific sights in the field. But nothing would ever match the horror of your discovery at Glenkildove. As a result, you gained a name for your coolness under pressure and reached the rank of Lieutenant. In what did you specialize? Infiltration and hand-to-hand combat, tactics and squad leadership, driving and technical support. Honestly, leaning towards tactics and squad leadership. I know you a lot will go for infiltration and hand-to-hand combat for your Snake, remember the basics of CQC, remember dog soldiers. But considering our bravery, I think tactics and squad leadership would be a good round out. Then again, driving and technical support could bring up our, well, driving and possibly wits. Yeah, driving and technical support. That is, driving. Maybe a little bit of science and technology, a little bit. Whereas infiltration and hand-to-hand combat will be going towards our melee and clandestine. And look, we already have Firearms 3 because we went with Royal Marines. Our stats are slowly increasing. Strength 4, Dexterity 3, Stamina 4, Charisma 2, Manipulation 1, Composure 3, Intelligence and wits 2, resolve 4. You know, maybe you are right. Maybe we should go for infiltration and hand-to-hand combat. Congratulations, you have convinced me with minimal amount of words. Just by me looking at the stats. Give yourself a pat on the back. You felt happiest on your own, away from the rest of the squad, crawling through the shadows with a knife in your hand. You had a natural talent for stealth, for being able to avoid enemy eyes. You can kill with a wire, with a blade, and with your bare hands. It was on returning from a second tour in Afghanistan that you heard whispered rumors that a new Special Forces unit, its numbers made up of hand-picked soldiers from all of the elite branches of the Army and Navy, was being put together. Nobody knew exactly what their role would be, but rumor connected it with a new wave of terrorist activity around the world. A suicide bombing on the Acropolis in Athens, other attacks in Ottawa. That, by the way, is a reference to previous Vampire the Masquerade games. Suicide bombing in the Acropolis in Athens, that would be Sins of the Sire. And attacks in Ottawa, Parliament of the Knives. Canada is, by the way, mostly Sabbat country, just like Mexico. You were put forward for selection for the new unit, a process so intense and grueling that it made basic training seem like a suburban camping trip. You were left to survive in the Scottish Highlands and the Belize jungle and put through a rigorous battery of physical and psychological tests designed to simulate being captured and tortured by the enemy. You passed them all with flying colors. And then came the final test, something that you were assured was just a formality. In an anonymous prefab facility somewhere on the Pembrokeshire coast, you sat in a white room while a doctor injected a cocktail of various drugs into your bare arm, then started to asking you questions. They were about Glen Kildove, about the Beast, about Simon. As your vision blurred, you could hear yourself responding, your voice slurred but calm, without your volition. Oh, wonderful, we get injected with a truth serum. Deep buried memories, stirred up by the drugs in your system, suddenly rising to the surface like long-forgotten dreams. You cannot recall what you said, but you do recall the naked shock on the doctor's face as you continued talking, the agitation and rising horror. You failed the test. Whatever it was you said, it disqualified you from entry to the mysterious new unit. The nightmares returned soon afterwards, and as though the drugs in the doctor's syringe had released them. You left the Royal Marines soon afterwards, moving back to London to face an uncertain future. Cormac's call came soon after. Whatever waits for you back in Ireland, you are prepared to face it now. You'll hunt down the beast and slay it, once and for all. And so, here you are. Back in the O'Donnell farmhouse after all these years with the thing that killed Simon stalking around outside the door. It will not be long before it tires of tormenting you and makes its way inside. If it can't get to you, it will kill you just as it killed Simon, and your fate will become just another sad mystery of the Wicklow Hills. What will you do? I'll barricade the door and the windows of the farmhouse and try to hold it against the beast as long as I can. Strength and science plus technology. Strength 4, science and technology 0. Out of the question, as I said, we're not playing Call of Duty Zombies. I will try to hide within the house itself. Wits and clandestine. Wits 2, clandestine 2. Could work, but file it under backup plan. I will make a break for it now, running for the woods and trying to outdistance the beast. Stamina and athletics requires knowledge of the house. Stamina 4, athletics 1. But requires knowledge of the house, and we were not in the house, so that one's also out of the game. But finally, plan A. I will use the shotgun to try to shoot the beast as it enters. Resolve 4, firearms 3. I like those odds, gentlemen. I like those odds. Shotgun. The time you took earlier to check the handling and condition of the shotgun proves its value now. The gun feels comfortable in your hands. There is a moment of total silence. Then the door crashes down and the beast appears. It is the same figure that has haunted your nightmares for 8 years, ever since you first saw it standing over Simon's dismembered body, its muzzle flecked with crimson gore. It stands 9 feet tall, a huge burly mass of rank-smelling dark fur and muscle, cruel talons gleaming at the end of its long arms. It is hunched over, a huge wolf-like head thrusting forward between its broad shoulders, golden eyes glowing and fangs bared. You notice that it is moving a little awkwardly, as though in pain, and fresh bloody claw marks crisscross its chest. But even so, those claws could tear your body apart as easily as wet paper. A single snap of those jaws could take your head off. You do not think about that. You aim for the center mass and fire both barrels. The gun's explosion sounds like the end of the world. You hit the beast at point-blank range with both shells. It howls in agony. Anything else would have a huge hole blown in its chest. Incredibly, the beast still stands, but you can tell that you have hurt it. It staggers and claws at its chest. You begin reloading the gun as fast as your shaking hands will allow, and the beast, its rage seemingly broken by the pain, turns and lopes away, moving at an unnatural speed. You fire after it, but this time your shot goes wild, and by then the beast has disappeared among the trees. You consider pursuit, but you sense that once you are out in the darkness of the woods, the beast could very quickly turn the tables on you once again. Injured or not, its night vision and sense of scent would give it a huge advantage out there. Something also tells you that you may have been very lucky. The beast was already wounded when you shot it, and even so, a point-blank shotgun blast hurt the wolf-like creature far less than it should have. You lean the gun against the wall and kneel down. Now that the danger is past, at least for now, your whole body starts to shake with a come down from the adrenaline rush. For a long, long time, until dawn breaks outside, all you can do is stare at the wall and breathe in and breathe out. Moving slowly, stumbling like a sleepwalker, you make your way out of the house and across the farmyard. It's a fine, clear morning outside and birds are beginning to call to one another in the trees above your head. The melodic sounds like machine gun fire in your present exhausted state. Without any clear volition, you begin taking the road to the Wolf's Head, the place you once called home. As you walk, the thoughts swirl in your mind. Shapeless, formless thoughts, filled with dread at first, but gradually and against your will, they resolve themselves. Because you know. You know what the beast is. You have always known. You repressed the memory in your waking hours, forced it down somewhere deep and dark in your mind, but it came out to haunt your sleep at night. Every night, you relived that moment at Glenkildove, looking up from the shelter of the trees. You saw Simon facing Cormac along the standing stones. Cormac angrily shouting, Simon frightened, holding up his hands, pleading. And you saw the anger twist Cormac's face and then his body. You saw him grow, his hands extending into claws, muscle and fur bursting through his clothes, his face splitting and distending into something angular and inhuman, and then he lunged. Cormac O'Donnell is the beast of Glenkildove. I cannot feign surprise. The last part of the journey, the climb up the hill to the Wolf's Head, almost undoes you. You stagger across the parking lot and through the front door into the parlor. Aunt Mare appears at the far door, shock on her face. Liam! Christ almighty! Unable to take another step, you collapse. By surviving the hunt thus far, you have learned and grown stronger. If you wish, you can spend some or all of your accumulated experience at this point. Any points that you don't spend will be stored and can be spent at a later point. What do we want to increase? Physical, social, mental, physical, or other physical attributes. Physical, social, mental. Skills, physical, social, or mental. Considering what we have right now, I'm leaning towards improving our skills. Physical skills, that is. Specifically, athletics. We have 9 experience points, so that leaves us at 3. We'll raise athletics to 2. And let's think about it for a second. Maybe we can boost up our persuasion or science and technology. Science and technology would be okay. We don't need to hit gem more. We are already at strength 4, which is respectable. Very respectable. Firearms and melee at 3, which is good. So I think we bump up science and technology with our 3 remaining points. That's mental skills and science and technology. There we have it. That's all. And chapter 3, we'll have to wait until next week. For now, I would like to thank you all for attending. I hope you're enjoying the story. And I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Warhammer Wednesday. And I have yet to decide on what the Warhammer game will be, most likely Mechanicus, but we'll have to see. For now, once again, thank you for coming, and I'll see you next time.